Hello, everyone. This is Pendy.
And this is Liam Land.
Man, these legacy Dragon Quest bosses in these DQ9 grottos sure are frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, I miss tackling those at the old Tag Mode Tuesday meetups in Rockefeller Center in Nintendo New York, which used to be called Nintendo World.
You know, wouldn't it be great if we could just play the game online with each other?
Yeah, one can dream, can't they? I wish we could easily access the DQVC shops and all those bonus quests that are required the server ping to unlock the content.
Don't worry, guys. I'm here to save the day.
Holy bullfinch! It's AustNeravar, the Almighty.
Goddess be praised. Save us, Aust. Bless us with online DQ9 goodness.
You got it, my fellow DQ brethren. I'll show you the way.
He will indeed, as today we have longtime Slime Time collaborator AustNeravar on the show. He is here to tell us about how to play Dragon Quest IX multiplayer online and how to access the online DQVC shop and side quests thought to be lost.
Hi, everyone.
I'm actually playing Dragon Quest IX right now with my son on my phone. Well, not right now, but yeah. So we just finished Xerox and we're about to head to Bloomingdale. So he doesn't actually have much time to play, so I've been hitting up like the grottos in the meantime, which means that the characters are pretty jacked up for the main quest. But he'll definitely be ready for the multiplayer next summer when I load the converted save file into my spare DQ9 cart. I got about 4 of them. One is sealed, another Japanese copy, and then, well, I get 6 total, and then 4 regular carts that I used to use for the mail and tag DLC updates for folks on the den. So looking forward to this discussion because it's all fresh in mind. Anyway, so for context of this interview, when Dragon Quest IX came out, you could link up to 3 other players who had the game and play it in multiplayer and local multiplayer. So this is primarily done to tackle legacy boss maps and grotto dungeons, but you could also play through most of the main story with buddies as well. So you had to be in the same room with someone. It was local only at the time, and this could not be done online.
There was also an online shop called DQVC, wordplay on the QVC shopping network, where you could buy certain items, sometimes rare exclusives, and they would rotate new items on a weekly basis. The server the game was on also used to unlock event-driven side quests, post-game quests, and special legacy quests via the Quester's Rest elevator. With the end of Nintendo's DS Wi-Fi service on 20 May of 2014, it seemed all of this content was lost.
First off, Ost, who was able to figure out how to play DQ9 online, and how did this come about?
I don't know if we were actually the ones to figure it out first. I know like a lot of people had theorized about it working the way we got it to work, but in practice, when you actually tried it, there'd be a lot of disconnects after like just playing less than a minute. Most emulators weren't able to emulate the ad hoc wireless connection that the DS used for Dragon Quest IX multiplayer. It wasn't until like Mel and DS came in and put a lot of work into that it was actually possible.
So how did you get involved in being able to play online multiplayer with Dragon Quest IX?
Well, I've been trying it like for years just on my own on local machines, just because the first step to figuring it out was being able to run 2 instances of the emulator on one machine, which that's essentially what you're doing now anyway. And I've been trying it on my own just with various different emulators over the years, and it never worked. Like I said, the farthest you could get is getting them to actually connect, and then you would immediately disconnect, or you would see the name with Pavo when trying to connect, talking to her at the end, you would see the name of the other character, but it wouldn't actually let you go to their world. I would, gosh, I can't remember when I first started trying to do it. When I first noticed, I think it was Mel and DS, when Mel and DS first started making progress on that, I was just browsing their forums. I'd go there every few months just to see if they'd made any progress, and started seeing people talk about the various different games that had local multiplayer start to work through the emulator. And when I noticed a lot of other games starting to get that work, that's when I would sort of get some friends to test things out. And I think we tried it a few times, and it wasn't until it actually started working and we had stable connections that we decided, all right, well, this is the point where we can actually do a playthrough.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, even seeing the person's name with Pavo is a major breakthrough, even if you couldn't connect. So I'm glad they were able to figure that out. How many times have you been able to do it so far, and what were the experiences like?
We only played about 6 or 7 sessions, I think. We made it up to, I think we finished Swine Dimples before different schedules got too busy for us to really continue playing, which just, at this stage in life, it's hard to get everybody to align their game sessions just right. But the experiences, I think, were probably just about the same as you would have, in real life, except not, maybe not quite as fun as having someone right next to you, but obviously it's a lot more accessible this way. It was a lot of fun to play a Dragon Quest game with other people in a way that Dragon Quest X hasn't offered. For one, one that it being in English. But yeah, there's a lot of quirks to playing, like sort of an older school JRPG multiplayer like this that you don't see in modern gaming. But yeah, a lot of fun experiences definitely. I think the most annoying thing is timing everybody to get out of battle at the same time, because and I know anyone who's played Dragon Quest IX, whether online or offline, knows this is, you have 4 different people in a battle. Somebody gets off the battle screen, but somebody else stays on it. Then the person who's on the battle screen, by the time they get off of it, monsters have spawned wherever they were standing, because the first person who is off the battle screen is now back in the world, which means monsters are spawning again.
Yeah.
So a monster has now spawned where the person is standing after they're, where they're still doing their battle screen, like looking at their experience points or doing their skill points. So that is the most frustrating thing about Dragon Quest IX multiplayer. That's an experience that sticks with me. Trying to think of good experiences. I mean, it's Dragon Quest IX, so the good experiences are the same as you would have playing it solo. Really, just getting to experience it with people who had not yet played the game. Really, you mentioned Zero Rocks earlier. That's my favorite pun in the entirety of Dragon Quest.
Yeah, so I had to explain that one to my kids. They didn't get it.
Well, one of the people we played with is like a huge Dragon Quest IX fan, but she's in college, so she's a bit younger, and she didn't really understand the pun because she, had never used a Xerox machine or
it's a time and a place.
Yeah, never had exposure to it, so we had to explain the pun to her.
Oh, and with me, I didn't even understand the pun until years later when someone explained it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, I didn't realize it was a Xerox pun." I was like, "Oh my god, I should have realized that." But of course,
if you don't say it out loud, it is easy to miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are positive experiences. Getting to go through the game with people who have not yet experienced parts of it.
So, did you run into any weird glitches while you were playing?
No, none that were caused by playing online. I mean, we had a couple of disconnects, not very many at all, just 1 or 2, I think. And honestly, I think you might encounter 1 or 2 of those playing in real life anyway, because I've played a little bit with my son, and we've had some of those with him on the couch next to me. So no glitches that I think were caused by the emulator.
Interesting.
Aside from manually hacking your save file with a save editor, if someone wanted to access the DQVC shop, special guest, or all the quests that were locked by the online server, how would someone go about that these days?
Okay, so yeah, there's a service now to replace the old Nintendo servers that are no longer online for, that were available for the Wii and the DS, called Wii MMFi. And the way to get it, which I'm not entirely sure how to do it on the Wii, but on the DS at least, and on the 3DS, you just change your DNS settings on your DS. And for Dragon Quest IX, it's fairly straightforward, except with a caveat of you need either a really old router or an Android phone with hotspot hosting capabilities, because the DS didn't have it. It came out at a time when Wi-Fi security protocols, they didn't have was it WPA or WEP encryption, whichever one that doesn't require a password.
I think it was WPA, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
that was the setup that I needed that I didn't have at home but did have at Nintendo World.
Right. So, and some modern routers may actually still have that capability. I doubt it. If you have one that does, just if you know what you're doing, just look for it. The easiest way with my phone is I just post a hotspot without a password.
Yeah, that was one of the alternatives I remember hearing about, is that you could create a Wi-Fi hotspot and just set it up with that encryption so that it's easy to access.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember having to fool with those settings on my DS back in the day to do that. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird janky thing, but I've heard that you can't really do this on an iPhone, not using an Apple product in like over a decade. So I don't know. I'm not the guy to figure that out.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. There's not as much flexibility to fool around with stuff like that on an iPhone as opposed to an Android.
Yeah,
they have emulators now though on iDevices, so
that's cool.
That's something. That's why Vim's Lair got shut down, but that's another story. For playing Dragon Quest IX multiplayer and accessing DQVC and the quests, is there a good guide out there for someone to do all that?
Why, yes, there is. I have guides for both up on my website at www.prequestinations.com, the most difficult to spell website URL probably.
It's a great fun though.
Yeah, I knew when I made it that it was like probably too hard for a lot of people to like really remember how to spell. But I mean, if you know how to spell procrastinate and you know how to spell quest, you should be able to figure it out. But I mean, there are obviously other guides, plenty of them on YouTube. The reason I did these is because I hate following video guides. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Much prefer written guides. And when I made these, there weren't any written guides guides, so I just made my own.
Awesome. So we'll definitely link that in the show notes so that people don't have to try to spell procrastination.
I know I won't have any problems with that. I'm a huge procrastinator, unfortunately.
Procrastinator.
Yeah.
I'm doing that in the grottos right now.
Nice. So to pivot to a related topic, let's speculate about a Dragon Quest IX remake. Related to our previous Dragon Quest IX conversation, what do we think the chances of a DQ9 remake are in the near future?
5-10 years ago, I would have said our chances were pretty great. I'm not really sure about anything anymore. I mean, we're getting Dragon Quest III remake finally, so that's positive. It was looking kind of dim there for a while. I gotta believe it's next. It's gotta be next, right? But who knows?
Yeah, I would hope so. And they had that anniversary special where they came together with some level 5 people because there was rumors going around that level 5 was like not a fan of the Dragon Quest people anymore, and that's why, and people were speculating that's why there hadn't been a remake yet, because there was a falling out or something like that. And I think that anniversary special kind of dispelled that notion. So hopefully eventually they will do some kind of remake, and I'm hoping that it's the next big remake they do as well. I mean, there is the chance that they may say, yeah, maybe not yet, and they do more like HD 2D remakes of like 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever.
Yeah, which also would be great.
Yeah, which I wouldn't mind either. But yeah, I would love to see a Dragon Quest IX remake before that. I think the big reason why they haven't done it yet is because it would be more complicated than most of the remakes they've done in the past, because to make it a successful remake, they would obviously have to make it with online capabilities to be able to do the multiplayer that people were able to do in the past with the old version of the game. So I think that's maybe why they haven't been too aggressive on going after a remake yet. But I'm thinking that hopefully after this, they do 3 that's coming out soon, and 1 and 2 will be coming out next year. I'm hoping that 9 might be next.
Yeah, I do think it'll happen eventually, perhaps on Switch 2. Imagine if there was a Dragon Quest IX game that, because 8 was a step up graphically, and then you had to step down on the DS visually, all the design and everything. Can you imagine if 9 looked as good or better than 8 in terms of the anime aesthetic? I think that would be an incredible improvement to the original.
Oh yeah, definitely. That'd be cool.
Speaking of which, if there was a Dragon Quest IX remake, what would you like to see as far as improvements, additions, quality of life upgrade?
Oh, like I mentioned earlier, I'd like to see like seamless battle screen transitions when you're like in the overworld. There needs to be, make it more like Dragon Quest X, I guess, like when you're going in and out of battles. That way you don't have people leaving the screen before someone else. Just have the text display at the same time for everybody else, and have it all there on the screen at once.
Yeah. I didn't play Dragon Quest X as much, but I did play Heroes 2. So I think that had a similar concept where the battles just started on the overworld map. Is that is that the type of thing you're talking about for anyone who hasn't really played a lot of Dragon Quest X or any of it?
Yeah. And it's like, in 11 where you move around in battle. That's where that originated from, is in 10. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. If you want it to be more purist, like with 9, you don't have to move around the battle screen or anything. I just want a more seamless experience, because like doing dungeons with 4 people is miserable, honestly. It's like you get all the levels, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, because a lot of times if somebody lags too far behind in your group, you're not together, you're moving autonomously. So if somebody lags behind or gets into a battle and they're farther away from you, the battle starts and now nobody else is in the, or anyone who was only the people who are close to you are in the battle now with you. So you have to run back and rescue them, or maybe you're on a different floor and now you got to wait for them. I remember that being kind of frustrating doing the grottos. So I've mentioned this before on Slime Time, but I think a Dragon Quest IX remake would be a very different version of the game with a lot of predictability, such as Hoimi tables and other versatile manipulation methods, either removed or perhaps less predictable. Even the special maps are likely to be lost unless the devs are knowledgeable enough about the original game to code that into the game as an homage, which probably isn't very likely. A floor containing all of a special monster like Metal King slimes, or was a specific bug for how the original DQ9 software interacted with the DS hardware. So while a lot of that will be lost, there should be a lot of quality of life improvements that get added as well, including hopefully no locked server dependent content.
Yeah, that'd be great. Some things that I'd love to see, obviously online battle, there's not really much of a point to do a remake of this game unless you had online battle battle capabilities, and that'd be super fun to be able to do those with people that I've built relationships with over the years. Like, for example, we recently did some online battling with Dragon Quest Heroes 2 as a group, and that was a lot of fun. Updated graphics, of course, and I would love to see some of the quality of life features that we're going to see in the new 3 remake coming up, like being able to speed up battles, different difficulty levels. Also, beyond that, this game badly needs like the beauty function, basically like in Dragon Quest 11S or Dragon Quest X, where you can have equipment that will be your base equipment for your stats and whatnot, but you can assign other equipment to make your character look how you want it to look. Because like in Dragon Quest IX, every piece of equipment would make your character look different, but you'd be locked to that look. If you changed it, then it'd be something else, and you would have some really goofy setups depending on what you had equipped on your different characters. Also,
couldn't you do that in Quest of the Stars too?
I think so. It's been a minute since I played that.
Yeah,
you said
because
the whole thing originated with 10, and considering that 9 was sort of like a prototype for 10, I would feel like they would take a lot of things from 10 and bring it to a remake of 9.
Yeah, and I'd also like to see like more than one save slot. That'd be fun because that was a frustrating part of 9. And team battles, that would be a fun new addition if you could like take a team of your people and battle someone else, or even have like multiplayer team battles where like you have like you and 3 other people battle against like 4 other people and battle it out. I think that'd be fun too.
Yeah, take the best qualities from champions and actually put it into a game that'll sell and do well.
Yes. So does anyone have any fun or favorite memories about Dragon Quest IX?
Well, since we're on the subject of DQ9, I did want to mention Tag Mode Tuesday, which I touched on in the opening. It was an official launch event at the Nintendo World Store in Rockefeller Center when the game released back in the US in 2010. And a small group of fans and I kept it going off and on for about 4 years, doing semi-regular meetups for the local multiplayer and just to hang out and do boss maps and occasional grottos and things. So Nintendo World was also one of the only places I mentioned this before, but that I could go to access the DQVC due to its open network. So I made some good friends at those meetups who I still keep in touch with today, including RPG Wizard, Deca Blue, DDD Drova, and Cyrus. So RPG Wizard details what the launch event was like in Slime Time episode 32. But one of the things that stuck out for me in that conversation was that Yuji Horii was there, but that he only signed autographs for the first 30 people online, which I thought was funny. I suspect it could have been an homage to the 30 unique canvas tags that you need to unlock the full in, but it's still funny because, there was a lot more than 30 people lined up for that event. Imagine being the 31st guy online.
That would I'd be so angry. I could imagine like traveling all the way to New York City from where I am in Virginia to go meet Yuji Horii and get something signed or at least say hello, and then to be the 31st guy and then miss out on that. I'd be so mad. I don't know if I could stand it. That'd be so bad. My favorite memories of the game actually have a lot to do with not like actually playing the game, which I still love, but like a lot of events that surrounded the game. I loved how going up to the game and after its release, they had all these different events that they had. Like they had like a series of big malls did it, Best Buy did it, GameStop did it, where you could meet a Nintendo representative and you could canvas for the special maps that they had. And that was a lot of fun. And also they had a lot of free swag. Like I remember GameStop, I think, was the one that had like the free shirt that you could get and stickers and things like that. I really enjoyed participating in those events. And some of the commercials that they had for the game were fun too. Like they had Seth Green that did some on the American side. They had some pop stars, these 2 twins on the UK side. Like a lot of that was fun as well. As far as playing the game itself, I did have a lot of fun just creating all my characters and seeing all the wacky combinations that you could have with the equipment that I mentioned before. That was a lot of fun. And I did get to do some decent canvassing for people and playing a little bit of the multiplayer when I went to like anime conventions and things like that. So that was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I've my favorite memories probably playing with my son, because when I played it the first time, I mostly did it solo, and it's not really that much of a fun experience, honestly, doing it by yourself, because it's really meant to be played with other people. And even though he's young, he doesn't really pick up on a lot of it. I've had a lot of fun teaching him how to play. Another good memory, not really playing the game itself, but like about the game, was learning about, like, I don't want to call it a bug, but like the hacks and stuff about it that were going on back when the game released, like the whole Quest 255 thing with people unlocking dummy quests that they weren't supposed to by using action replay cheats, and then how Liam spread it around. He gave his
Oh, did I?
Well, no, I'm exaggerating. You uploaded a save file, I think, to the den, and some people got it. And I found when I was
Oh
researching
yeah, well,
it, yeah, you mentioned how you
yeah,
had people.
it is a benign glitch. Yeah, it's like a benign
Yeah,
save file STD.
yeah, it doesn't
My
really
bad.
do
Hey,
anything.
I did get it in New York City, so
Yeah, I found it
there's a
fascinating
lot going
because
on in New York City.
it's like the remnant of cut content, I think, anyway. And like, it feels honestly like a Pokemon rumor or something that you would have heard back when I was a kid. And, like, I did like a whole article on it, reading, like, researching it about it and stuff. And you even hooked me up with, I think it was RPG Wizard, giving me the information that he knew because it originated from Tag Mode Tuesday, which you mentioned. And I wrote a whole article about it on my blog. And I don't think anybody read that. I'm the only one who found this interesting.
This is
But yeah,
about
I
an
did.
article about the glitch quest.
Yeah, about the Quest 255 thing and the AR codes. Wrote a whole thing about it.
Yeah.
Posted around, I
Yeah, I
think.
think it was a develop quest that they were developing it and that they didn't actually end up putting it in the game, but it's still there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's only
And
there in the English copy.
oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what happened in the Japanese version.
Nothing.
Why would that be different?
I don't know. It's
Oh,
just
because maybe no one used AR.
no. I
Maybe
know.
no
I
one used
tried it.
AR
Like,
on the Japanese.
I've tried it with a Japanese copy because, like, if the way it works is you unlock the extra quests that you're not supposed to get by going to someone's world who has used AR codes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that with
Mm-hmm.
a Japanese save file, if you go to someone's world who has used AR codes and get those extra quests, you come back and I think it's Pavo or Stella or somebody tells you you've unlocked extra quests. You get that. You get that in the Japanese
Mm-hmm.
copy. But that dialogue of Quest 255 with that cut content, it's not there. If you go there to the place where it's at in the English copy, if you go there in the Japanese copy, it's not there. I don't know if there's something similar in the Japanese version. I couldn't find it when I was like searching Japanese forums. I couldn't find anything about it, any equivalent. I couldn't find anything about it. And as much as that game was played in Japan, I have to believe that somebody would have found it if something like that existed. So
interesting. Then that's a mystery. Why would that be only in the U.S. version, in the Western version anyway? Huh.
just games are coded differently. So
Yeah, maybe they were trying to add content to the US version and they were like, nah, never mind.
well, when they translate these games, they just give them the game script. They don't worry about what's been cut. They just give them
Yeah.
all the text and they say translate it.
All right. So I mentioned canvas tagging earlier. So we talked before the recording, Austin. You mentioned that that actually works with the DS emulator, the Melon DS emulator. Was there anything else that surprised you that it worked?
I mean, not really. I mean, the whole thing surprised me that they got it to work at all eventually. Yeah, really. I mean, I guess I was a little surprised that canvassing worked, but that really functions the same way that multiplayer does. If you've read the guide or any of the guides on how to do this, the way you play multiplayer is not as straightforward as, I have an emulator on my PC and I connect to your emulator. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
One person runs both instances of the emulator on their machine, and you have to remote into their computer to play, to control the second emulator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's currently the only way to do it, because as connecting NetPlay online with the emulators is not currently possible, and that's a caveat that's explained at the beginning, I think, of my guide, and probably any of them. I think that's something that Melon DS was working on. They were working on making it so that you can do local multiplayer over the internet. But it's been really difficult, and the guy was like getting frustrated at getting it to work, and he got sort of burnt out, and I think he put it on hold. But yeah, the current method still works. It just requires some extra hoop jumping. Like if you want to work on your save file when you're not playing with somebody, then you really have to coordinate your save files like through a Google Drive, which is what we did. Like when we were through playing, the guy who hosted our saves, he would throw them all up on the Google Drive, and we would download them, and I would go work on my save file on my own time.
What was the file extension? Just out of curiosity, was it a DSV or an SAV?
It's for Melon DS. It's SAV, so it's actually the exact same as if you're dumping your save file from a 3DS, it's the exact same. You don't have to do any conversions. But
that's great.
if you're using a different emulator than Melon DS, like if you're using DSV, then you have to convert it.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm using Drastic on my phone, and I know I have to convert that. So I think it's what's the name of that emulator? Desmumi.
Yeah.
That has they have an online converter for that. So I've been kind of switching that back and forth, and that's how I copied over a DQV shop using the save editor, so that my son could access some of those exclusives.
I know which online converter you're talking about. I wish there was an offline version of that, because I'm afraid that site's going to go down one day and it's going to be,
Yeah. Well, if anyone's listening that knows how to do that, please.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, going back to the memories a little bit, I almost forgot to mention this as well. Two of my favorite Dragon Quest monsters came out of that game, or at least they were the first time I had seen them personally.
Mm-hmm.
The Cruel Cumber and the Mini Sanguini were absolutely hilarious and adorable. Like, I love how when you defeat a Cruel Cumber, how he just kind of trips backward and then a spear goes up in the air and then he stabs himself as he falls down. It's just absolutely amazing. And then like the Mini Sanguini, I love the design for that monster, how it looks very cute and it's kind of flying around. And then when it gets to attack, it suddenly becomes like horrific and horrible and this huge angry mouth and big and red eyes and it's coming for you. And I love like the contrast between the two different designs that it has as it's just sitting and when it's attacking. I really love those two monsters that came out of that game.
I
love the whenever you crit a Sanguini, it like falls over backwards in slow-mo and surprised, and it's hilarious.
Yeah. And so with that, we wrap up this episode of Slime Time. Thank you to AustNeravar for coming on the show.
You're welcome. It was great. Thank you for having me. It was great getting to talk about this game. I had a newfound appreciation for it over the past 4 or 5 years. One thing I do want to say, I didn't really think to say this earlier, but as with anything, anytime I'm talking about Dragon Quest IX, obviously you're going to thank the Dan later, but I want to give thanks to Gratis's Dragon Quest IX Discord server. There's tons of like useful information about this game there, like just boatloads of info there.
You'll never find a more dedicated fan base than Gratis's server. It's pretty intensive when you go there. There's so many. They create their own quests and everything and have like challenges and challenge each other to complete them. It's a really fun time and they're all very knowledgeable there. Whenever I have a question, I'll go there first.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we'll make sure to put the invite to that Discord server in the show notes as well.
So we're a nonprofit podcast. We won't shut down the server of your hard-earned gold when we can offer you quality content for free. But if you do have some extra cash, you would like to donate to anything, and you would like to donate anything to a website that's been supporting Dragon Quest fans for over 25 years, head on over to the Dragon's Den by clicking the link in the show notes. There are several ways to support the Den, including affiliate links that don't cost you anything extra when making Dragon Quest purchases.
Like, for example, going for Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake that's coming out really soon. We even have a Slime Time t-shirt that was designed by our resident artist, me. No, just kidding. Dwayne designed it. See the link for it in the show notes. You wouldn't want to see my Dragon Quest art. Not even a little bit.
Thanks to Amanda Lepre and the Descendants of Erdrick for permission to use their music. For more information about the band, please check out their links in our show notes.
For comments or questions, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at DQ Slime Time.
Join in tons of other Dragon Quest discussions at the Dragon's Den forums on Discord and the Dragon Questers Facebook group, as well as the Slime Time group.
That's true. Please like, subscribe, and write a review for the podcast.
Dragon Quest Slime Time, sliming off.
This is Gertrude for Slime Time, reminding you all that you must complete your adventure.